The triangle of trust is dead. And there are certainly some who could say, well, maybe it was time. Donnie's been here 24 years. Carlisle's been here 12. After all, they haven't really won in 10 years, and I don't disagree with the dissatisfaction over a decade of mediocrity. But pending Mark Cuban's hiring of Masai Ujiri, stealing him from Toronto, Ujiri then hiring a coach of his choosing, and Luka being happy with it all, I think this is a disastrous series of events here in the last 3 days for our beloved Dallas Mavericks. Disastrous.
Why do you think Rick Carlisle would want to step away?
I think it's the chain reaction of Donnie Nelson feeling like he had to say something about the so-called concept of the shadow GM. And I do believe, and Brian Broaddus has responsibly speculated about the idea that Donnie might be the source behind some of these stories that are coming out, and I think that's valid. I think Donnie found himself up against a brick wall with nobody else to complain to, so he decided to do it this way. I think Mark Cuban was dissatisfied with the complaining, and so Donnie goes, and now Rick Carlisle looks around and says, the triangle of trust is dead. I'll go too. What's interesting to me, and if you recall, we talked about this a couple of days ago, when the story came out, this was before the Athletic story on
Monday.
The shadow GM. Came this rumor that Rick Carlisle wanted to go to the Bucks, and I called Rick right away, and he said, I have zero interest in leaving Dallas. Well, we know Rick Carlisle. Broaddus knows him. I know he's not a liar. On Monday morning, Rick Carlisle had no interest in leaving Dallas, and then the crap hit the fan in every possible way. And now Rick Carlisle has an interest in leaving Dallas.
Do you think like the dam broke and all this drama really spilled over? Then you had the emotion of that story coming out, and people are much more apt to make life-changing decisions after everything that's transpired. It's just crazy. Was there any static between Rick and Luka?
Sure. Now I've always chalked it up to this is an 18, 19, now 22-year-old kid who's he got the keys to the car, and he's got to figure out how to use the keys to a car that is technically owned by Dad, Rick Carlisle. And we went through some of this obviously with Jason Kidd, and we went through it in a terrible way with Rondo. There were other point guards here, contrary to this idea that Rick Carlisle kills point guards. Devin Harris doesn't have a problem with Rick Carlisle, and either do others. And I think that would have eventually been fine. But did they butt heads? Yeah. I would chalk it up, Gavin, to the same way that a coach and a quarterback might butt heads. But that doesn't mean they couldn't work together or didn't work together. I think they worked together brilliantly. I think one of Rick Carlisle's greatest regrets is he may never again, ever coach a player like Luka Doncic. And the fact that he is walking away from that speaks volumes about the dysfunction and conflict within the triangle of trust.
2 years ago, we had this preseason story where they were much more interested in spacing the floor and shooting deep threes, and they were encouraging that style of play with what's Rick call it, 5 out, where everybody is just out. That's not Rick Carlisle's system, which kind of uses the whole court to create opportunities in his flow offense. Do you think there's a philosophical disagreement with Rick's old school, beautiful basketball approach to what the modern analytics are telling you to do as far as spacing and shooting threes?
I do think there's a conflict with the analytics department, which is why, as I said to Sean and RJ this morning, the analytics department has a place, but they don't get to sit in the front row. Brian Broaddus is very familiar with the people that are in the Cowboys analytics department, but I don't bet there aren't 10 people in Dallas that can name who's in charge of the Cowboys analytics department, because he sits where he belongs. He sits in the 50th row, and he passes the information up to the owner or the general manager or the coach. He doesn't actually have a voice in decision-making. And in the case of Bob Voulgaris, he clearly, whether or not you want to call it a shadow general manager or whether that's an exaggeration or whether it's Donnie's hurt feelings that created that phrase, Bob Voulgaris has way too much authority. So much authority now that it rubbed wrong the 24-year general manager of the Mavericks and the 12-year championship coach of the Mavericks.
I think from a lot of people's perspective, this is a sign that Mark Cuban is losing it or has lost it, maybe never had it, and is now about to be exposed. Is there any way he's ahead of the game?
There is one way, and that way is he goes and hires the Raptors general manager and then says to the Raptors general manager, now what do you want? What do you want? I've seen a lot of people say, okay, Jamal Mosley, Rick Carlisle's top assistant, he should be the new head coach. No, he shouldn't.
Yeah.
The new general manager's got to hire the head coach, not the owner, and not the resigning head coach. Rick Carlisle would endorse the idea of Mosley. That's not good enough. Rick's gone. The new general manager needs to get hired, and this needs to be done in an orderly fashion. And so the only way that Rick Carlisle can be ahead of the curve is to step, Gavin, away from the curve and hire the new general manager and then let him do his thing. And if somehow you could pry Ujiri away from the Raptors, his contract, by the way, is up.
Yeah.
It would, in theory, open up doors to players that he's got relationships with. He's got a relationship. I don't want to pipe dream Kawhi Leonard, but he's got a relationship with Kawhi Leonard. I don't think it's a pipe dream to chase DeMar DeRozan. He's got a relationship there. I don't think it's a pipe dream to think that Kyle Lowry would look good next to Luka. He's got a relationship there. So the Ujiri idea is brilliant on every single front. We did talk to Cuban late last night, by the way, and he said, we have not targeted anybody. We're going to use our search committee, and we're going to take a look that way. But, Mark, and I said this to you yesterday, Gavin, there needs to be one name at the very top of the search committee's list, and if it's not at the search committee's top guy, then the search committee should be fired.